Hey guys, it's Nate from Sprite Lovers here with episode 3 of PlayStation Pursuit. On this episode, I show off some games that I got with a trade from a good buddy of mine, Kevin Fox. I traded some Wii and PS2 games to him and got some PlayStation games ranging from some commons to one that I've been looking for a while. So stay tuned to see those. And as always, I'll be talking about 3 more of my favorite games for the PlayStation 1. So stay tuned. Okay, so I have the games here that I got in the trade. Now, one of the cool little things is that he gave me a couple demo discs that, just not part of the trade, just that he had that were PS1 related, so I'll show those off first. This one doesn't have a case, but it's one of the Pizza Hut demo discs, so I have to check out, see what's on there. But Pizza Hut did do a demo program where it was kind of like they're not really a kid's meal, but they always do a kids related thing, and they had demo discs for the PlayStation 1 at the time. So I remember getting one of them myself. I don't know if I still have it, but that's another one of those, so I'll be glad to check that out. And then this one is pretty cool. It's a little demo sampler in a cardboard case for the RPG Legend of Legaia, which I don't have this game yet in the collection, so I'll have to get it, but it's pretty cool to have this. And, you know, it's a little beat up, but I'm not going to complain about free. So I got that, and then I'm just going to go through the games I got here from the trade. So I traded, like I said, some Wii games, PS2 mostly, because he's a big PS2 collector, and yeah, I got a decent range of them, I thought, for our trade. So I'll start with one that I had for the Sega Saturn, and is a PlayStation staple. It started on the PlayStation and Saturn, back in the 90s, and it's still a franchise going today, and that is the first Tomb Raider game. I didn't realize I didn't have it for PlayStation because my childhood copy was the Saturn version, so I must have been like, oh, well, I have a version of Tomb Raider 1, but now that I'm going for the PlayStation collection, I had to get this one in the collection, so that was the first game in the trade. Another one is a PlayStation port of a game that I played on the N64. It was pretty disappointing, but I'm interested in seeing how they ported this to the PlayStation because I saw some videos on YouTube that showed they have full motion video cinematics instead of just in-game cinematics and stuff. So it'll be different enough to try out, and that is Mission Impossible. It is in pretty good shape, just a crack on the front case, but again, that's no big deal in the realm of PS1 because you can always find jewel cases. Now this is a game, it's got some sticker residue I gotta get rid of, but this is a game that I remember wanting to play back in the day, and then I saw a complete split in 2 of the bigger video game magazines at the time. GamePro gave it like straight 5 out of 5s, which was their like rating system, and it has like the red face going, whoa, like awesome. They gave it 5 out of 5 for every category, and then Electronic Gaming Monthly, which was my preferred magazine, gave it pretty middling reviews, kind of middle of the road. Some of them were even poor, I think. So I think that's what maybe stopped me from playing it, but I think I played a demo and I enjoyed it back in the day. And that is Ninja Shadow of Darkness by the Tomb Raider people, and Fighting Force people. So there is that, and then the next game I'm going to show off, I have the first one of, but I didn't have this one, and it was in good shape and everything, and that is Nightmare Creatures 2. So it's got music by Rob Zombie, which I like some Rob Zombie, but I don't think I'd in a horror game, although this is probably more of an action game. Case is broke, so I gotta fix that, but disc is fantastic, and manual is in great shape too, so I'll change out that case. And then these are 2 games that I didn't play the second one growing up, but I really liked the first one. And what's cool about both of these is it's kind of 3 gameplay styles in one, and that is Die Hard Trilogy and Die Hard Trilogy 2. And what's funny is this is based off of the Die Hard movies, so there's like a skyscraper level, a airport level, and a city streets level based off the first 3 Die Hard movies. And this one's called Die Hard Trilogy 2 Viva Las Vegas, and as far as I know, there wasn't a Die Hard in Las Vegas, but it has the 3 gameplay styles revisited that this one did. The first one is a third-person action-adventure kind of thing, and then the second one is almost like a light gun game, and I don't think it uses a light gun, but you can use a controller or it's mouse compatible, which I have a mouse, so that's pretty cool. And then the third one is kind of like a really downscale Grand Theft Auto, like open the city thing. You don't get out of your car, but it's kind of like Crazy Taxi. If you've ever played that, only you drive to defuse bombs, and I think you just drive through them to defuse them. So it's really like an action-packed kind of arcadey feel. I really liked it back in the day. But the second one, I've never played. I heard it's not as good, but I definitely want to look forward to checking that out. I'm glad to have that in the collection. So I got 2 more from Kevin. The first one is a series I love, and I have a disc only of the third one, so I'm not counting that in the collection behind me. And then I have the PlayStation 3 version and its expansion on my PS3, and that series is Wipeout, and this one happens to be Wipeout XL, which was the second one released. And I love these games. They're really fun. There's such a great sense of style, and I like the electronica music, and it's really good. Very catchy and perfectly fitting for the futuristic setting, but great shape, complete, and very glad to have that one in the collection, because I don't know if I've ever played this one outside of a demo. So I love the series, but that's one I haven't played. But yeah, so I have one more to show, but why don't I talk about some of my favorite PlayStation games? Stay tuned. Okay, so I got 3 more games to talk about on the PlayStation 1 that I really like. One of them is a fan favorite, and then 2 more I believe are a little less known. So let's get started with the first one. I have to find it behind me here. Okay, so the first one, the series is, as far as I know, still going to this day, because the last game that was going to be released for the series unfortunately was canceled, and it was much to the dismay of many, many people, myself included, because it looked to be one of the next great steps in the genre of survival horror. And the series I'm talking about is Silent Hill. And I think most of the people would say that Silent Hill 2 is the best, and it probably is, because it takes everything from this and expands on it. But this was the first. This one just blew my mind when it first came out. I, like many other people, was a huge fan of Resident Evil. I thought the series was fantastic going out the gate. I didn't have a problem with the tank controls. It helped me enjoy the camera angles changing up dramatically without having to worry about the controls changing each time the camera changed. So I didn't have a problem with that. But you know, that game is really cool because it has the pre-rendered backgrounds and they look really nice and they're detailed. But you know, what I like about Silent Hill is they tried to actually make a fully 3D game in the same style. But coming, you know, because this is PS1, coming with the limitations of the PlayStation, doing a fully 3D game actually is not, it's a little more limiting, really, in what you can do. And so what this game did was uniquely used fog as a way to enhance the atmosphere. And I usually don't like games that have fog. A lot of N64 games used fog to cover up the pop-in, and I would rather had the pop-in and had like just a background, or at least had the fog be a background and then had things fade in from the background, which a lot of PS1 and Saturn games did, but for some reason N64 just made it fog. And I live in Syracuse. Most of the time it's gray skies here in Syracuse, and I hate it, so I don't like seeing the fog, as it just is more of the gray that I think is just so bleh. But anyway, Silent Hill used it in a very interesting way, and actually it doesn't just start with it starts with the fog, but even the design of the characters and stuff, there's, you know, it has just enough character or polygons per character model to have them look really detailed, but not overwork the system. And beyond just the technical points of this game, although I will mention the music is fantastic. Akira Yamaoka, I believe is his last name. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but he does the soundtrack through most of the Silent Hill series, and I love the sound. It's just a perfect mix of creepy music, some cool mellow beats, a little electronic sound, and then vocals by I wish I could remember her name, but the girl who does a lot of the voices in the or some vocals for the lead songs in the games are fantastic. Definitely check her out. I'll tag her name in the description because I can't remember, but this game had a fantastic story at the time. I have a bunch of fond memories playing the demo of it first, so much like many of these PlayStation games. I feel like almost every demo like cued me in on a game that I was going to end up loving, and this was one of them, and it's genuinely creepy, even with the limited graphics at the time. The school that you go into has these little demon baby things that don't really even hurt you, but they catch you off guard and they just kind of walk towards you, and it's just like, ugh. And by being fully 3D in this one, they were able to do things with the camera angle beyond just having cool camera angles like Resident Evil. There's one part early in the game, it was in the demo too, where you're going down a narrow alleyway, and it's already creepy enough as it is, but the camera angle kind of swoops in as you come towards it, and then it looks down at you, and then follows you around the corner. So it makes just even turning a corner in that game really tense and keeps you on edge. So fantastic game. Lots of just interesting things about this game, from the characters, the story, like I mentioned, the music, and just the world felt like you were there. This feels like a town that was lived in, and is going through some really horrible stuff. So great game, popular series. I think this is probably still my favorite just because of how much it influenced my taste and everything when I played it. So if you haven't played it yet, though, definitely check it out. Okay, so the second game I wanted to talk about this week is actually I never hear anybody talking about it. It's a fighting game, but if you go back to the era of the PlayStation, my friends and I were in high school, and much like many people at the time, Dragon Ball Z was really popular in America. As you can see, I got an import version of the game that I got back in the day because I was so hyped to play a Dragon Ball game. But before that, long before I got that one actually, we knew of one Blockbuster Video in town that had a copy of Dragon Ball GT, which I didn't watch at the time. We were all Dragon Ball Z fans, so I didn't know the differences of Dragon Ball GT at the time. But we really wanted to play a Dragon Ball game, and we knew that there was one at this rental store, and it was always out. Never could find it. So that was kind of frustrating because we wanted to play a Dragon Ball game. And then we saw this one game when we were at the rental store, and it kind of looked familiar with Dragon Ball. There's projectile attacks, and then close combat. There's some guys dressed in, like, you know, karate gis kind of stuff, and then some medieval looking characters and stuff. So we were like, why don't we rent it? And we did, and it satisfied that Dragon Ball itch probably better than the Dragon Ball game actually is, because I still have yet to play it. And that game is the Strega. I've talked about this in a past episode of Sprite Lovers, probably when I picked it up, but it's a really cool game. It's actually by Koei, who does the Dynasty Warrior series and Romance of the Three Kingdoms series. And even on the back of the box, you can see projectiles being launched. The guy looks kind of like Goku here. His pants look like Goku's pants. So that was kind of what cued us in on it. We're like, But very good game, and it's interesting because it's got like this almost like Power Stone element where you have, if anybody's ever played that, you can walk around freely in the environment. It's not just on a 2D plane like most fighters, so you have a little bit of freedom to use the environment to your advantage during the fights, and I really liked that. And it has really good graphics for the PlayStation 1, very smooth. The arenas are really cool, and good roster of characters to choose from. The one thing I will say is a good but also bad thing is the different moves. Some are better than others against each other, so there's kind of like a rock paper scissors thing that might be, to some people, a turn off. It didn't really bother me too much, but it is also like hard to grasp because sometimes you want to like button mash to launch projectiles and stuff, but that might not work because there's the counters to that and everything. So I never will claim that I was a master of the style of this game, but for a while there in high school, I was pretty good at it. Haven't really sat down and played it much since I got it again. I did when I filmed some footage for it the first time, and it was fun playing it again, but you know, I was definitely struggling to try and get used to that again because it's been so long. But it's a really cool game, and I never hear anybody talking about this. I don't know why. I mean, there's a lot of fans of the Dynasty Warrior series and other Koei games, and it's because, like I said, it's got some of that, a little bit of that Dragon Ball type feel. Obviously the story doesn't have anything similar to Dragon Ball Z, but it was perfect at the time for when we were looking for that. So, and I guarantee you this game is better than that Dragon Ball game is, because I know that game didn't get good reviews back in the day, and that didn't stop us from wanting to play it. But still, the Strega, my second recommendation in this episode. Really cool game, and it might even be on PlayStation Network. I thought I saw it on there and I was like, oh cool, but I already had gotten the game. So, and I don't think it's too expensive either, so if you can find it, it's just kind of uncommon, but check online, see if you can get a copy, and check it out. Okay, so the last game I want to talk about this episode, that's one of my favorites. I don't hear too many people talking about this one either, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people heard of it back in the day. It's a really neat 3D rail shooter, and if you've watched past episodes of Sprite Lovers, I've probably mentioned a million times that I'm a big fan of rail shooters. In fact, one of my most recent episodes, I finally had gotten the RPG version of Panzer Dragoon Saga for the Sega Saturn, and the previous games to that series and the one after it are rail shooters, and that's probably what got me really into it. That and Star Fox, I'd say. And basically, if you don't know what a rail shooter is, it's kind of the 3D-ification of a shoot 'em up. So you have a ship or dragon or whatever, and you shoot at incoming enemies. Kind of like games like Afterburner did back in the day. They were kind of like early versions of the rail shooter where you're behind your craft. But what I like about it is it does kind of simulate some of the same feelings of playing a shooter, because you're dodging bullets and everything, while also attacking guys from afar. So let me grab the game that I'm talking about for this episode, and it is Omega Boost. First thing about this game I'll say is it's actually made by Polyphony Digital, I believe is the company. Let me see. Yep. And for those who don't know that company by name, they actually made the Gran Turismo series, and probably still do. And this was a game they made shortly after Gran Turismo, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it anymore. But it definitely has the same quality of how, when that game came out for PS1, it was pretty impressive. The cars had really nice models and reflections and everything. And even though this is a complete 180 from what those games are, they definitely pushed the PlayStation to its limits. And it's a really, really neat game. Must have some new metal music in it because it's advertised in the back of the box or the booklet. But it has fantastic graphics, big enemies, and I remember the particle effects and weapon effects. There's like rockets with like laser trails behind them and stuff, and it's just so much going on. And I mean, there's not too much I can say about it other than describing that it is a rail shooter, and if you like rail shooters, it's a very good one. Lots of big bosses, and that's kind of what I feel makes it feel like you're playing an old shoot 'em up. Is, you know, you fight a bunch of common enemies, and then a big boss, mid-boss enemy comes out, and then some more enemies, maybe a couple, double the mid-boss size enemies, and then a big boss at the end of the stage. You know, it's got that same kind of flow, but in 3D, and I'm pretty sure there's some space battles too that are a little more open. It's been a long time since I played this. This was one of my favorite games in high school, but it's been a long time, and I don't know if I've ever beaten it, so I'm gonna have to go back and do that. But really, really good graphics. I mean, it's just got such great lighting. I remember there's different times of day on different surfaces of the planet you're on, or planets. I can't remember if there's multiple planets. But yeah, I think what's cool about it is like you can aim like 360 degrees around. So it's a kind of a rail shooter, but you're not going too straight through the game. It's got various levels of and paths and stuff, and you've got the full 360 degree movement shooting around you. So just a really cool game. You have, you know, other ships, and I think you're like a mech, yeah. And then there's other, like, you know, robots, and there's ships, and there's even like bipedal creatures and alien type creatures and stuff that you fight. So it's just a really cool game. I don't know why people don't talk about this one as much, and maybe I'm just not in the right circles. I do know some of my friends like this. Oleg, Mr. Fantastic, who's been on episodes of Sprite Lovers before, he likes this game too. So, but we both, I think, are like, why doesn't people play this? It's a good game. So definitely check it out. It's fantastic, and I think just as much care as the Gran Turismo series went into this game. So if you can find it or play it somehow, check it out. Okay, and then the big game in the trade is one that I have wanted for quite a while. I have a couple of friends who have it, and it's a Gothic-Horror RPG. At least that's what it's described as on the back of the box. And I like Parasite Eve, I would kind of describe as that too. It's an RPG, but it has kind of this Gothic horror, but of course it's in a city too. But this game, to me, looks, just from the pictures and stuff I've seen, has looked like it might evoke some of the same feelings as Parasite Eve. It is a 4-disc game, and it is Kodelka, published by SNK. And this game is interesting because I believe I found out that it's in the Shadow Hearts series. And looking at the art style and the character design, I actually can see that, because the Shadow Hearts series usually has a blonde girl that looks like this on the cover and stuff. So pretty cool. It says the will to survive, and then the journey, the horror, the will to survive. But yeah, it has the manual, and of course, like I said, as long as I don't fall out, 4 discs, 2 on that first half and 2 on the back half. So 4 discs, great shape. Game's going up in price. I'm glad that I was able to trade out for this one. instead of having to pay outright. So yeah, that was it for the games this episode. I have a couple of other episodes actually in the hopper. But this was one trade I wanted to go over and show what I got from Kevin. So thanks, Kevin, for the trade. I appreciate it, and I think I got some good games out of this. So, and thank you everybody else for watching. I hope you enjoyed the PlayStation Pursuit so far. And as I get my list whittled down and my collection confirmed behind me, making sure I'm not forgetting any of the games I have on my list, I'm going to start saying what number I'm at and letting you know how many more I have to go at the end of each episode or something like that. So stay tuned. The pursuit is going to continue, and I'm having a blast doing it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.